So go, hang on. Just tell me when. Welcome back, everybody, under further review. Andrew here with Mike Rose.
Hello.
We're going to wrap it up as we always do with a little bit of a chat about fantasy football. But first, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and follow all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can find us on the handle UFR Vodcast. Our podcast comes out every Thursday. You can find us everywhere podcasts are sold except Spotify because we're not that cool yet. But yeah, let's jump right into the last segment here. I play fantasy football.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, you do not.
Currently not.
Okay. Fantasy is a big part of the show. Can you tell me why you're not involved in fantasy football this year?
It wasn't really active choice. I did it growing up. I was like, oh god, must have been. I was in middle school, so what did that probably make me around like 10 to 14? And maybe in elementary school too. So I was really young, but like my neighborhood, like all the adults in my neighborhood played fantasy football, and they were like, they knew I liked to watch, so they were like, they asked my mom, like, does your son want to play? And I was like, of course I do. So I was like this like 12-year-old kid playing with like a bunch of like 50-year-olds, and so I played up until I left for college, and then I went to college and things just got crazy, and I never jumped back in. But this podcast really is giving me the. I'm starting to miss it. It makes watching football so much more fun.
It is a lot of fun. We were talking during the break, and you mentioned to me that you had LaDainian Tomlinson on one of your teams during his 2006 god tier fantasy season.
I'm not sure if he still holds the record, but at the time he took his record with the Chargers as most running yards. I believe
he did. Yes, he did set the record that year.
Yes, I did have him that year.
During this season in 2006, he led the entire NFL with 1,800 rushing yards. He added 508 yards as a receiver. He finished with an incredible 419 fantasy points during the year.
And so that was the year, actually, the league we played in, you got partial money for winning the most points, and you got money for like second and I think first. And then maybe there were a couple other smaller things, but I did win most points that year.
Nice, very good. I have a tendency to
Thanks, LT.
I have a tendency to also do really well in the regular season and then bomb in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I've had a couple years where I've gone undefeated and then lost in the first round. That sucked.
It really be like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, like, at the end of the day, like, is it luck? Like, or is it... And you know what? At the end of the day, we're not betting, but you're betting on people.
Sure.
You're betting on human beings. They're
Absolutely.
not robots. So it's like, who knows? Like, they could have had a fight with a family member before that game and not done well. And if they would just have let me know that, hey, had a fight with Linda before this, not feeling my best, don't play me, I would do that. But alas.
Can you tell me a little bit more of what that dynamic is like of you being a small child playing against grown adults?
Oh my god. Well, it was, I was...
Did they take you seriously, or...
I'm sure not. But, they were always pretty kind, and I talked a lot of smack for someone that was very, very little. I'm sure you all are... Is that really surprising? Given who I am now. I talked a lot of smack, and they always were like, oh, okay. And they were like, this little one. They just kind of let me go off, and they were really sweet about it. I was always really overwhelmed, but intimidated, because I was
Sure.
small, and, I didn't know the fraction amount of information they do because I was a child.
Well, I was this way as well. I was a very, smack-talking child when I played fantasy football. But, you have to make... some kind of, a name for yourself. You have to make your presence known, so I totally understand that.
Yeah, especially because we would do live drafts, and there'd be, 12 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we did live drafts. And so, me among that draft, it was really... live drafts are really hard. Now they have all the technology, but when I did it, 10 years ago, they, didn't have the technology where, they could, recommend somebody else. You had paper.
Oh, yeah.
And so you had to cross people out. It's
magazines and things like that.
Yeah, that's what I did.
It was much harder back in the day.
And so I had to cross people out, but I couldn't keep up with it because I was just a boy. And so, people would be like, I'd call someone and they're like, picked. And I was like, it's like, how about this person? Picked. And I'm like,
oh
yeah,
no.
I'm sorry.
Oh, and you feel so awkward because you're like, oh no.
I'm
blowing it.
I'm blowing it. I'm embarrassing myself. So, bringing shame to the family. But they were, at the end of the day, really sweet about it. And it's really how I got into loving football. I mean, I was raised on the Eagles, but it made me realize how much I love the entire sport as a whole. And so I definitely think at this point I'm going to have to go back next year. I can't not.
Fair enough. I want to jump into a recap of my league over the weekend.
Okay.
Because I have something that you might be able to speak to.
Ooh.
Because we've had some kind of thing. We've had some kind of thing happen.
A thing.
So let me just give you real quick a recap on my team.
How'd you do?
I won.
Oh, you're both done?
Yeah, we're both done.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to win, but I did. I had 102.9 points, thanks in part to Lamar Jackson. And
yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm a Patriots fan.
Do look at the colors?
Yeah, right. We're both wearing baseball tees today.
Did not plan this.
Truly. His is white with green sleeves because he's an Eagles fan, and mine is white with dark blue sleeves because I'm a Patriots fan. And we both hate our lives. Lamar Jackson put up almost 30 points against the Patriots, who lost their first game.
Oh yeah, they did.
And it's
yeah, they did.
Right. I'll get into that in a minute. But I truly didn't think I'd win this week because James Conner is hurt, T.Y. Hilton is hurt.
Bold of you to put him in against the Patriots.
I know. I didn't have anybody else. I got burned. Okay,
Sure.
so I got burned 2 weeks ago because I dropped David Montgomery because he wasn't doing anything, and I picked up Jacoby Brissett, who did fuck nothing for me.
Yep.
David Montgomery went to the team who is currently undefeated, and has since put up 40 points in 2 games. So once again, I got burned by trying to making smart calls and making something good out of the bad situation. Right. This happened to me last year as well. I dropped Derrick Henry, and then the team that I faced in the playoffs had Derrick Henry when he was like rolling, when he had that 99-yard touchdown pass. But props to people like Marvin Jones and DJ Moore, both of whom scored over 10 points. Hunter Henry starting in the place of Austin Hooper, who's been a godsend this year for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
With 8.4 points. I won. I didn't think I would, but that's not the game that I wanted to talk about. The game that I wanted to talk about, we have in our league at the theater that I work at, most of us are front of house staff, ushers, things like that,
sure.
Managers,
coworkers.
So
that's kind of the vibe of the team.
Pretty much. We do have one player. It's my boss's 11-year-old son. Okay. Over the weekend, he played the team that is undefeated, and
okay.
So this kid was...
How's the kid doing?
He is in last place. He lost last year.
I love you, buddy.
Yeah, I would really, really like to not have him finish in the last place for the second year in a row. Yeah. He was winning for most of the day on Sunday. Both these teams are done. He was winning for most of the day on Sunday. He was... The undefeated guys, players, didn't do very well. He had 3 players play in the 9:30 game in London on Sunday, and none of them did very well. So we were like, oh man, he's got a chance. Kirk Cousins had a great day for him. Devin Singletary had a good day for him. They both had 20 points apiece.
Yeah.
But eventually, during the 4 o'clock slot of games, the floodgates kind of opened up for the undefeated guy. DK Metcalf had over 20 points. Kenny Galladay had 19 points. Matt Stafford had over 20 points. And by the time Sunday night rolled around, the undefeated guy is at 97.7 to 84.9 for our 11-year-old kid here.
Sure.
So, the only player that the undefeated guy has left is his defense. It's the Patriots' defense
for Sunday night.
Traditionally,
didn't have anyone play Monday night.
No.
So this was it.
Okay. So he's got the Patriots playing on Sunday night. He's up by 12 point 8 points or something like that. I have a problem with what happened next. He decided to sit the Patriots defense. He decided to drop them out of his lineup like a half hour before the 8:20 game started.
So that must have been after the fact that he knew the child was done, no more players, right. The points were the points.
The points were the points.
He was winning.
Yeah.
By how much?
13. So
there's no way a defense is really going to go negative 13.
And especially not the Patriots.
How much does defense start with in fantasy now?
You start with 10. The Patriots finished with 3 because they lost 37-20, so they gave up a whole bunch of points.
Yeah.
I feel like this is compromising the integrity of my league as commissioner. So basically, to essentially take a knee and sit your defense in order to preserve a 13-point win. Now I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, because I know that he doesn't listen. But our guy who's 8-0 is a little cocky and a little arrogant, and he knows that.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything.
He knows that he is, and he makes it clear that he's a pain in the ass to all of us.
A piece of work.
Right, he's a piece of work. So I just kind of feel like he doesn't really have much of a reason to do this.
Yeah.
And as commissioner, I feel like there needs to be something done in order to like, I don't know, as some kind of, not punishment, but some kind of reaction to doing something like this. Like,
right.
I feel like it was to prove a point that just because he was losing for most of the day to an 11-year-old, that, like, he came from behind and won. I don't know, and like, is going to sit on the ball so that he... The whole situation just feels kind of fishy to me.
Right. And you know what? The situation... The optics of it are just bad.
Right.
And, like, maybe definitely ask him. Definitely be like, what was the point? Did you really think the Patriots were going to go negative 13?
Yeah.
What's his other defense? Like, do we
I don't think he...
I'm sure
he does not have one.
Okay, so, like, either way, like, the chances of most defenses going negative 13 are, especially the Patriots.
Right.
That's not happening. So for you to... The argument could be made, like, I won, and I'm not playing... I don't want to risk it, but it's negative 13. That's not...
You're not risking anything by
right. There's no way. So
right.
I just hate... That would be the only excuse he could possibly make, and I wouldn't accept it.
Right, exactly. I mean, as commissioner, and as a couple of the other players in my league have talked with me about, we want this league to be the most competitive league it can be.
Yeah,
like, we don't want anybody not setting their lineups and having people with walkover games. Like, I don't want that. For me, that's a cardinal sin of fantasy, is not setting your lineup every week.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had someone do that this year. We had a couple people do it last year too. It's gotten better this year, but we still have someone who's a pain in the ass for not setting their lineup, especially because he's got a pretty good team. I just feel like this is intentional, and it's compromising the integrity of this league that we're trying to go through. You should set your lineup to do the best that you possibly can, and if you end up losing, then you end up losing. But taking a knee on a 13-point lead when you have no reason to, you're undefeated, and this 11-year-old child that you're facing against is in last place? I don't understand why.
I just want to know... Like I said, the optics of it are bad. Like, as far as I'm concerned, what he did was he just tried to prove a point. And he was like, hi, see, I won again. And, like, giving a middle finger to, like, an 11-year-old, like, dock him. Like,
I'm really thinking about it. What I wanted to do was take 10 points for intentionally dropping the defense, like, 30 minutes before the game started.
So he still gets the win, but proves the point.
But it was going to initially be 13, because it was going to be 10 plus the 3 that the Patriots had. So it would be 13 points. That would give our 11-year-old friend a win on a technicality, which I feel bad about doing.
Sure.
So what I think I want to do is dock the guy 10 points. It still gives him a win.
Yes.
And it sucks because the only thing that's going to really the only thing that's really going to, like, for me, is put my heart at ease is him losing. Because a win's still going to be a win for him, and he's still going to be like, oh, whatever, guys. But something needs to be done, and I feel like this
is... If he doesn't learn anything from it, like, having been that kid, I think, and whether or not the kid processed, like, the circumstance or not, if he did process, like, what the guy had done, he probably is like, oh, well, I wouldn't imagine him feeling very comfortable in a league with that person in the first place, because it's, like, already hard enough being the 11-year-old out of, like, being the 11-year-old with people, like, in their, like, older.
Sure.
And so it's already hard enough, and for him to have pulled that move and made him feel smaller than he already is, I think the 10 points, if the other guy is going to learn something from it, the kid will at least see that you saw it, and, like, could you bring it to a league vote? I mean, here's the thing. It's like, bringing it to a league vote is one thing, but also the guy doesn't really have a very, people don't really view him very, I shouldn't be saying this on the podcast, so I might cut this. People don't really have a very positive view of this guy. I don't. Basically, what I'm saying is that
it's one thing to put it to a league vote and to like the outcome of 8 other people about this one thing that doesn't really affect them.
Right.
You know, I mean, if I put it to a league vote, I feel like it would turn out well in my favor. But
I think
that's the conundrum that I have is that it doesn't really involve the other 8 people in the league. It really just involves the 2 people that are involved.
And you, as commissioner.
So I mean, I'm going back and forth on what I should do here. I feel like asking him what his reasoning behind it is the right move to do.
Step 1.
The step 1. But
I'd be interested to see if I can't imagine an excuse, but maybe one exists.
If there is some kind, I mean, if there is no excuse, then I have no choice but to dock him points. I mean, right. I wish that if you, like.
And at that point, it's like, why have the league vote? It's like if he says like, "Oh, it was supposed to be like it's a joke, haha," I would be like, "No, screw you."
It wasn't. I mean,
that's not funny.
And I feel like that's an answer that could be given, but it's not a very funny. It's not.
It's not funny. It's rude.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like you want to play a serious league. Like that's not serious.
Yeah, what I definitely will be doing next year is making changes as far as league competitiveness is concerned. Like you need to be required to field a full lineup every single week.
Yeah.
And if you don't, there will be consequences for it.
A dock.
Because a dock of points or something like that. I was looking at Reddit today about this certain thing, and the general consensus is that it is words that were thrown around were unsportsmanlike, scummy, and I wouldn't want to be in a league with you. Things like that. So it just kind of bothers me. We actually had an issue last year, believe it or not, between these two same people. There was we thought that there was evidence of possible collusion in a trade, where the guy, where the 11-year-old kid was out of the playoffs, and this guy who's 8-0 was fighting for a playoff spot, and we thought that there was a shitty trade that went down where he tried to trade for Antonio Brown. Eventually, the trade did go through. The guy didn't end up making the playoffs, so I mean, it's fine. But we.
This guy makes me so mad.
My tip of the day is to just, if you're a commissioner, just keep an eye out for things that might happen.
Especially
like
when you have someone that young. Like I said, like I was that person. Like I remember when I had LaDainian Tomlinson in his big year, there were multiple people who tried to trade me for him, and they were like, and they kept telling me, they're like, "Oh, it's ridiculous you would keep him when you can get 2 really good players for that one great one." And I always kept saying, I was like ballsy of you to say that to me because you're the one offering the trade. Yeah. But that's what people did. And I was really young, and it was kind of intimidating for me to for people to keep pushing me about it, and they would tell me that I was making the wrong call.
This is a problem that I have as a fantasy player as well.
Right.
A lot of my players in my league are novice or beginners to novice players, and my team is kind of floundering at the moment. I was looking for a spark. I was trying to early on in the season trade away Odell Beckham Jr., and people thought that I was trying to play them because they thought that I knew more than they did. When really I was trying to hopefully give them a top 10 receiver in return for something else that's good. Yeah, I just it's a troubling situation, and I thank you for very, very much for your advice. I appreciate it, really.
Yeah, I definitely think short form, definitely ask him, and if not, if it becomes clear, dock him, and maybe on the board just be like, I've docked this person these points for the following reasons. We are not a league to intimidate or to
We don't encourage sandbagging. Not that this was sandbagging. I mean, sandbagging.
There's a word for it.
It's a whole different thing. But yeah, okay.
It's not nice.
That's right. It is not nice. So yeah, okay, great. Thank you for letting me get that off my chest and talk about some fantasy. That's pretty much all I have.
I'm the biggest fan of this kid, by the way. You can tell this kid I'm obsessed with him.
He rocks. We stand for him. His fantasy football logo is Pickle Rick dabbing. It's freaking
That's
great.
Really funny.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll let you know. I'll be sure to keep up on give you updates on the situation as we continue through this. Yeah, that's all I have.
That's all
for today. Do you have any before we wrap up? Do you have any closing thoughts just about life or about football in general?
Life. No, not at all. This season of football has been really fascinating. I think the biggest thing I've learned from watching at the Sports Buy workout, where I get to watch all the games, is that football is 50% skill and 50% your feelings. The amount of games I've seen won by people who statistically shouldn't have won, you can have a spread all you want, you can have numbers all you want, but at the end of the day, these are people.
That's right.
And they are in the league because they are the best, and at the end of the day, like, they play their best when they feel their best. If not feeling their best, then that's the most important thing.
Any given Sunday is a real thing, man. Any team can beat any other team.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, the Dolphins beat the Jets over the weekend.
We love you.
Shout out to the Miami Dolphins.
Dolphins.
And you know why? I think it's because I'm taking complete credit for this victory. I went to did you know that there's a Miami Dolphins bar in New York City? Because I fucking didn't.
Why?
Yeah, there's a Miami Dolphins bar. I walked in, I was at a friend's birthday party, and it was, I forget the name of it, Slattery's Midtown Pub.
I want to know what the tip breakdown for those services is. It's probably not a lot.
Let me tell you my experience at this bar really, really quickly. Okay, so I walk in, right, and I'm there, I'm in the back section, and there are all of my friends there, and I turn around, and the whole wall is plastered with, like, Miami Dolphin. Like, picture, you know how at press conferences they have, like, the board in the back that's got all, like, the logos of the team on it and all the sponsors, and I look around, and it's basically all that. And I took a second, I'm like, where the hell am I? It's weird. I would imagine turnout at that bar to be very low. I imagine that turnout is about, you have as many people in that bar as the Dolphins have wins. So, for the moment, just like one. But let me tell you, the people that work behind that bar are so freaking nice, dude. Seriously. They gave out free raspberry kamikaze shots with each first drink. It's crazy. They were super nice. I gave them a big tip, too, because they deserve it. Because, A, they're Dolphins fans, and B, they gave out shots with your first drink.
Where is it?
Slattery's Midtown Pub. It's on 36th Street. I think it's between 5th and Madison.
Okay, Slattery's.
Yes.
Can do.
It's the main hangout for their group of Dolphins fans called the Dolphins. 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 They all make a trip out to MetLife every year when the Dolphins play the Jets in New Jersey.
Oh my god.
And I want to go there, and I want to go and interview those people that inhabit that bar, because I think it would be fun.
A little field trip.
Yeah, just like see what the morale is like, ask them why they come there, thing like that, you know? I think Kana and I are going to try to go do that.
That would be hysterical. It would be so fun.
It would be, I agree. Whew, man. This has been a lot. This episode got emotional, and I'm I'm happy that you were here with us on this trip. Once again, guys, you can follow Mike Rose at all of his social media. Is all of your social media the same?
_Mike _Rose _ Instagram, and you'll find me from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of underscores in his name. It's excessive, but it's very charming. It's very artistic, I think.
It is. I mean, is it artistic because it's generic, or is it generic that makes it artistic?
It's generic and it makes it artistic. Like it's Mike. Not that your name is boring, but it's like Mike Rose that's kind of been like dolled up and made very pretty.
That's true. Cleaned up.
So we
put a bow on it.
Mike, once again, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. You can follow all of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, using the handle at UFR Podcast. If you have emails or comments or concerns or anything like that, please send them to andrewandkata@gmail.com. We will get back to you as soon as we can because we love your mail. Podcast comes out every Thursday wherever podcasts are sold, except Spotify because we're not that cool yet. And I've got nothing left. I'm Andrew.
I'm Mike.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye.